Coming up on this episode of MSCB News, Mesquite ISD has a new wrestling facility and program.
We also take a look at the Let's Talk podcast.
And get the story behind the Mesquite ISD Hall of Honor.
All this and more coming up on MSCB News.
Welcome to MSEB, live from the TEC studios.
Good afternoon, Mesquite ISD. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Isaac Gonzalez.
And I'm Jill Giles, and you're watching MSCB Live, a show produced by MISD students and brought to you live from the TEC studios.
We'll bring you the top stories from throughout the district, take an inside look at what's happening in MISD. Let's get to our first story. In our first story, Paula Sanchez goes to Downtown Mesquite to find out about all the new renovations and economic development in our city. Here's the story.
Hello, I'm Paula Sanchez with MSCB News. Today we are here at Mesquite Downtown to talk with our coordinator about their future plans for downtown. Let's see what he has to say.
So the renovations for Downtown Mesquite have been planned for about 4 years now, but I'm sure the city's had something in place even longer than that. The big reason is we're trying to bring back the historic heart of the community to downtown. Everywhere you go, there's always a downtown, and the downtown is always reflective of the community, right? So we want to try to bring that to Mesquite and just kind of revitalize the area. I see a vibrant and lively place full with all kinds of people, everything from like bakeries and steak shops to boutiques and so many opportunities for growth. The best way to attract things downtown is to be authentic. Everybody knows about Bear Cave Coffee because it's real, it's there. People are starting to learn more about the farmers market because we only bring in fresh, locally grown produce, local vendors. It's about the people. That's what's always going to attract people to downtown, is the people.
It's great to see what Downtown Mesquite has an offer for the upcoming years. This has been Paula with MSCB News. Now back to the studio.
It looks like there are a lot of great developments here and coming to Downtown Mesquite. Be sure to go check it out and support our local small businesses. There are a lot of seniors throughout the district that want to impart their knowledge and experiences on underclassmen to help them better navigate throughout the rest of their high school experience. Let's see what they have to say.
Hi, my name is April Vasquez and I am here with MSCB News, here to ask the seniors class of 2023 any advice they may have for the incoming freshmen.
All I have to say for the incoming freshmen is stay on time with your work. Make sure you are on top of everything. Join in clubs, have fun, make friends, associate with other people, be on top of your work, make sure you get everything done. Don't slack off because it does come back and bite you.
I feel as if freshman year might be the easiest for you. Usually freshman year is pretty laid back. You're kind of just getting adjusted to high school. And I feel as freshman year you should be joining the most associations, clubs, anything you can. Try maybe going choir, theater if you want. Pretty much, or NHS, I'm pretty sure you could probably try to get in, or joining the school news, probably.
And what are some programs that you did?
I've been doing BPA, TSA, Skittle by News, Maroon Maniacs, especially if you really want to go to games.
Well, that's it. Hope this advice can help any incoming freshmen that have any worries about high school. I'm April Vasquez with MSB News, signing out.
It's smart to follow advice from those who have gone before you. When I was a freshman, I wish someone would have told me to stay on top of my classes. We investigated the issue on teacher shortages in schools across the nation. This crisis has caused crowded classrooms and overwhelmed teachers nationwide. Here's the story.
In the year 2021 through 2022, Texas employed 376,086 classroom teachers, and according to the Texas Education Agency, nearly 12% of them left that same year. This number has gone up about 10% in recent years. Statistics have also shown that teacher openings have been rapidly outpacing the hiring of teachers in schools. Today, we are here at Mesquite High School to talk to Principal Johnson on the effect of this national issue and his plans to combat it. Let's hear what he has to say.
Teacher shortages have affected Mesquite students and teachers in that obviously with fewer teachers, And classrooms that don't have teachers, we have subs or we have other teachers covering. It's put a strain on teachers that are here that are covering classes. I hope it hasn't affected students as much because we've done a great job as a district and school of covering those classes with teachers. It's definitely put a strain on everyone. Because of the pandemic, the world has changed, people have changed, things have changed, and there's been a paradigm shift in how we do life, to be honest. Teachers specifically, it's a very hard profession. You know, it's challenging, it's very rewarding, but it is challenging.
Well, it's great to see that Mesquite High School has a plan to combat this current shortage. This has been Isaac with MSCB News. Now back to the studio.
We are very lucky to have our teachers here in Mesquite ISD and the leadership that ensures that students are getting the education they deserve. Many people are not aware that Mesquite ISD has a new wrestling program and facility at Mesquite High School. Jesus interviewed the new wrestling coach about this and what's to come with this program. Here's the story.
This is Jesus from MSCB News. Today we'll be looking at the new athletic complex and also be interviewing the head coach of wrestling, Coach Barnes. Let's get into it.
I'm Coach Barnes. I'm the head wrestling coach for Mesquite ISD. All right, wrestling is a brand new program here in Mesquite ISD. It's new to the students. Not a lot of people know what wrestling is here in Mesquite, so I'm trying to bring it to the youth. We're starting a youth club for wrestling, trying to bring it to the high schools. We've added it to our high school programs, and I'm looking to have a successful year this season. So the short-term goals for this season for our wrestling team is to build excitement, grow the program, trying to get numbers, trying to get girls involved and boys involved in both. The long-term goal, I'm looking for to add a youth club and get kids at a young age kind of learning this sport, and that way they can develop into pretty good wrestlers by the time they're in high school. Maybe have a chance to do something in college at another level, but down the road we're looking for district championships, regional, state championships. All right, so I grew up in Mesquite. I'm a Mesquite kid. I went to Beasley, I went to Prung, I went to Thompson. My dad was a football coach here in Mesquite. He coached for North Mesquite, coached for Poteet. I grew up playing youth basketball, youth soccer, doing all that stuff. Didn't have youth wrestling. Mesquite didn't have wrestling, they finally have it. I want to bring wrestling to Mesquite, kind of give kids an opportunity, something that I didn't have as a kid growing up, and just kind of build the program. Wrestling's such a good sport for kids. Teaches kids toughness, accountability, just so many good qualities that you have that you can learn through wrestling. So I just want to bring that to the town of Mesquite and kind of give back to the city I grew up in.
My name is Hunter Lopez. I go to North Mesquite High School, and I'm a senior. It's something I've always been into. It's something I've always wanted to do ever since I was little. And I've never had the opportunity to. It's funny, my freshman year I actually went up to our principal at the time, and I asked why didn't we have a wrestling organization. And once I heard that we were going to get one my senior year, I had to come up here and do it. Being in a sport, it helps people stay in shape. It helps people be active because there's so many people that aren't just active. They go on and they do whatever. It keeps you involved in something. It gives you something to keep your grades up, and it's better for your health and your well-being regardless. So. It's something really cool. It's something I think is really fun, something that I enjoy a lot. I try to tell people up at my school, come join. Even if you're like slightly interested in it, it doesn't hurt by just coming up here and seeing what's going on. And if you don't like it, then it's not for everyone. But some people, they like watching football and they're like, oh, football seems pretty cool. Let me go see what that's about. Same thing coming up here. Plus the friendships that you can make up here is amazing. So, it doesn't hurt just to come and try and see what it is. You may end up thinking you don't like it, and you may come up here and try it and think, you may come up here and try it and you end up liking it a lot. So, it doesn't hurt.
This one-of-a-kind athletic complex sure seems like it would bring many benefits to our student athletes. This was Jesus from MSCB News. Back to the studio.
I'm glad that students are getting another option for their interest in wrestling in Mesquite ISD. If you're interested in this program, be sure to ask your counselors and coaches to see about getting on the team. The Mesquite Education Foundation is a nonprofit corporation that supplies extra funds for projects and programs throughout the Mesquite ISD. This weekend, they are raising funds through the amazing Santacolor 5K run and walk event. Sergio Rodriguez has the story.
I'm Sergio Rodriguez, here to talk about this year's Santa Run event with Randy Lewallen, the organizer of this year's event. Let's see what he has to say. Can you tell us more, inside about the event, what's there gonna be going on?
Yeah, so there'll be live music being played by a DJ throughout the morning. We'll have refreshments before the 5K begins at 8:30. And then the more competitive runners that are getting chip time, that want to record their time, will run first at 8:30. And then after that, as they run through the station, there are volunteers there throwing the color powder in the air as they run through it. And then after the event, each individual that participates gets their own color powder packet, and they open their packet and throw the powder in the air, and it's a really great photo op.
So are there any sponsors to support the run?
Yeah, we have 5 premier sponsors. Our presenting sponsor this year is Credit Union of Texas. We also have Whataburger of Mesquite, Dallas Regional Medical Center, Fuel City are our premier top flight sponsors.
You think this year's gonna be great, fine, awesome, dandy?
It's going to be great. Hopefully we'll have really great weather. We don't mind the cold, but the rain is not ideal. So knock on wood, we won't have to deal with the rain, but we've had rain before and everything still went great. So yeah, everything looks good. I expect another great year. And this event really is great for the community because anyone can participate. You don't have to run. If you just want to walk, you don't even have to walk the full 3.1 miles. You can stop and turn around and come back. So really anyone and everyone can participate, and it's just a great community event. It's so much fun to be out together celebrating Mesquite ISD. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for what you've been doing, and I hope you keep at it. Looks like there's going to be a lot more going on this year's Santa Run, and as Mr. Lewallen says, we hope to see you this year. This is Sergio Rodriguez signing out.
It looks like this Santa Fun Run is a great event for good cause that everyone can participate in. Please be sure to check it out on Saturday, November 12th. Each week, hosts Dr. LaDonna Gulley and Ted Madden deliver authentic discussions about empowerment, inclusion, and equity in the Mesquite ISD community and beyond through the Let's Talk podcast. Dr. LaDonna Gulley is in the studio with Steven Escobar to talk about this engaging podcast.
Hello. Today we are here with Dr. LaDonna Gulley, and we'll be talking about what the Let's Talk podcast is about. Dr. Gulley, how did the Let's Talk podcast come about?
Well, the Let's Talk podcast is really generated out of the leadership and empowerment team that was started shortly after George Floyd's murder to really begin to look at how we get to know each other as a community and also how we learn to embrace each other's differences. So it was really generated out of lots of discussions from students, from teachers, from leaders within our district, as well as community leaders outside within the city who said that they really felt that at that particular time that we really needed to stop and really take a look to really try to get to know each other.
In your opinion, what is the most beneficial message spoken about in the Let's Talk podcast?
I think so many, to be honest with you. I think that there are so many lessons learned from listening to the podcast. First and foremost, you get to know the people who work here within our district. We have some incredible people throughout Mesquite ISD, but also throughout just our community of Mesquite, period. And I feel like it really opens a level of communication that we have not had, nor had we seen prior to this particular podcast being initiated and then something that is now a part of Mesquite ISD. I think the second thing is that it reminds us that we are all human at the end of the day. And so it really doesn't matter what we look like, what we say, our socioeconomic status. None of that really matters. At the really core of who we are is really about, the fact that we are all human, that we all deserve a high level of dignity, but more importantly for our students, that our students recognize that we believe in you and we believe in what you do and what you bring to the table and to every single classroom And it's our job to really help you and give you the foundation that you need to really grow and become not only a productive citizen, but also a global citizen. So,
What topics do you cover in your podcast?
an array of topics, but it really does at the core of LET and at the core of the podcast is all about how we tell stories in order to embrace each other's differences. So for instance, we've had a number of people on the podcast over the last 2.5 years, and everyone from our superintendent, both present and past, to our mayor, who was actually on the podcast. And really what I have learned is that the topics really go where the story is, right? So for instance, you may have a person who really talks about being a single dad and what that was like, and raising a son, and really having those challenges to be truly on their own. We had one guest that, he became a father at 18. And so what did that look like for him? To somebody else really talking about something that may have happened to them, that they may have been discriminated against, or they may have been stopped by the police, or they may have been in a store and accused of something that they did not do. So the story, it really always depends on the guest. We truly never know what we're going to get to. But what I have found over and over is that the moment you put the mics on and you say, okay, let's get started, and people begin to tell their story, you really just have to sit there. And I am always just amazed, as well as oftentimes left in awe, because it's something that you kind of look at somebody and you think you know them, and then all of a sudden they begin to tell you their story and you're like, oh, wow. I didn't know that about that person. So it has been, I think it's very powerful. I think it's very insightful. And I think it connects us. It shows people like how we're really connected, that we're actually, in all actuality, we are actually more connected than we are disconnected.
So where should the audience go to listen to these podcasts?
So you can get on, if you have podcasts, if you have the app on your phone, you can literally go there and look up Let's Talk Podcast, Mesquite ISD, and it should come up there. You can also get on the Mesquite ISD website and go to Leadership and Empowerment under the Community tab. And you can literally scroll down and you will see the Let's Talk podcast. And you can see it both. You can see the audio as well as the video, because we also have a Facebook channel, Mesquite ISD, and you can catch us. All 85 episodes are listed on that particular frame.
What is a question that you wish I have asked, and how would you have answered it?
What have I learned? Right? What have I learned listening to all of these incredible people that have been on the podcast over the last 2.5 years, that are most of them right here from Mesquite and in Mesquite, Texas, as well as working for Mesquite ISD. I think that if I was going to answer that, I would say that what I have learned is that we are all people. And we are really all trying to get this right. And I think we have to allow each other a high level of grace, as well as just a level of understanding about the fact that at the end of the day, we're all trying just to be the very best we can be.
So what do the students get out of the Let's Talk podcast?
I think that they learn a lot about the people that they work with every day. You walk into a school and oftentimes you may not know anything about your principal per se, right? Well, your principal probably has done a Let's podcast. And it's the perfect way to kind of get to know some of the people that you normally don't know. The other part of that too, that I think that really helps students, is to understand that we have all been there. Because I think that sometimes, what do typical students say? Oh, you don't understand, you don't get it, right? I think on some level that we don't get it, because today is very different from when we were coming up. However, I think we do definitely understand that, students are going through things, that they're struggling just like we all are, and we're just all really trying to get it right. I believe that there's a lot of wisdom in the podcast. And I think that students in particular can really, if they listen, they can really walk away with some great takeaways.
It looks like the Let's Talk podcast has a topic for everybody. Thank you, Dr. Gulley. This is Steven Escobar with MSCB News.
It sounds like Dr. Gulley has found a way to invite great conversation from all people of all backgrounds. Be sure to tune in to the next Let's Talk podcast and listen to the great conversations from diverse people around our community. The Mesquite Hall of Honor serves to represent the impact that sports have played in the history of Mesquite, Texas. Each year, Mesquite ISD recognizes individual athletes, coaches, teams, and legacy members of the community with induction to the Hall of Honor. Jewel Giles has a story.
This is Jewel with MSCB News covering the Hall of Honor at the Mesquite ISD Technology of Excellence building, where we'll be interviewing Mr. Madden. Let's go see what he knows. Hi, Mr. Madden. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Can you please tell us what is the Hall of Honor?
The Hall of Honor began in 2018, and the school district decided it wanted to honor coaches, players, teams, and then another category called legacy from the sports world in Mesquite ISD. Since for more than 100 years there's been Mesquite High School and sports in Mesquite. So they just decided every year they want to honor these different sports figures throughout the years that will appreciate the tradition that came before, but also hopefully inspire hope for current student athletes.
Well, that's really interesting. I like that. Can you please tell us why you think Mesquite needs the Hall of Honor? Why do you think it's a great thing?
The way Dr. Vrulin, our former superintendent, when he had the vision for this, and he was the one who started it, he really did. He wanted to honor the past and also inspire the future. And that's really what it came down to.
And we've seen that you've done interviews with some of the nominees. What did you get out of that, or what was the significance to you when you did it?
So I do a video for each inductee, and the video, I call them mini documentaries, about 3.5 minutes long, and I'll interview the subject, obviously the inductee going in, and then former teammates, coaches, family members, people who impacted their lives in a positive way. And what I like about our Hall of Honor is the fact that in most others, you'll maybe just have a plaque with some accomplishments. And the videos that I put together tell their story, and you really can get to know who that inductee is by watching them and their colleagues, teammates, coaches talk about them and the stories they tell about it. I think it's really powerful.
That's nice. Is there any other things you would like to tell us about the Hall of Honor?
Well, we just wrapped up the 5th induction class. It's every fall, and they do it before the day of a football game. So the induction ceremony is nice. As I mentioned, the videos are very personal for each of these inductees because they are watching 3.5 minutes of their interview, of course, but then all these people who've been a part of their lives, a part of their sports careers, talking about them. And so it can be emotional for these inductees, and then they go up after they watch their own video and they have to give a speech, and so those speeches are always better because they're already primed emotionally after watching these videos. So the induction ceremony is really neat. And then before whichever football game we pick, before the game they are honored on the field, and we play clips from that video, 30-second clips on the video board, and they get recognized by the fans who are there for the game.
Well, thank you. That's all the questions we have today. I really appreciate having you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like Mesquite has a rich history of staff and students to fill in the Hall of Honor. Check out these Hall of Honor videos in the Mesquite ISD YouTube channel. This is Joe at MSCB News signing out.
It looks like Mr. Ted Madden has done a great job promoting the Hall of Honor nominees while keeping it the goal of honoring the past and inspiring the future. Be sure to check out all the videos of post nominees on the Mesquite ISD YouTube channel.
That wraps up this edition of MSCB News. For more information on today's stories, please visit the MSCB YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook pages. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Joel Giles.
And I'm Isaac Gonzalez. Until next time,
stay classy, Mesquite.
This has been a presentation of MSEB, Mesquite Student Entertainment and Broadcasting, in association with the Mesquite Independent School District Career and Technical Education Department.